Welcome again to Joe Stunner Boxing. You may be aware of the rumour about the big Saudi sort of super fight semi-finals, if you like, that's supposedly going to take place in December. This was a rumour that pitted potentially Anthony Joshua against Deontay Wilder and Tyson Fury against Alexander Usyk, which it all sounded incredibly fanciful, but sometimes these rumours have to be paid attention to because sometimes they do come true. And Eddie Hearn gave an interview with IFL TV, and he said that a sort of, not even preliminary talks, but it's been mentioned, this idea of, again, in December in Saudi, in United Arab Emirates somewhere, they would hold these two mega fights. Usyk and Fury would probably be the headliner, but if ever you wanted a great support, Wilder and Joshua, I mean, to have those four fighters on one card is immense, absolutely immense. And Hearn said that when he was pushed by Kugan Cassius to give a figure of how much this would cost in terms of fight purses, he pulled the figure of 400 million out of his head. I mean, an astronomical amount of money. You know, very close to £500 million. I mean, it's quite astonishing. But let's talk a bit about the conditions that might be put on certain fighters. And the most interesting one, I'm going to concentrate on Anthony Joshua because it was a Hearn interview and Joshua is Hearn's fighter. Whereas Hearn said that he expected Usyk to fight between now and December, possibly a mandatory, he would probably have to do a mandatory or be stripped. And also he said that he thought Fury would fight probably in July 22nd, is it? That's been earmarked. Against who, we don't know. He said that Joshua, the money that is put up, or the people that put the money up, will probably say to Joshua, we do not want you to fight between now and December. Now that's interesting because, okay, Hearn can't speak for Usyk and he can't speak for Fury. So for all we know, the Saudis might say, well, we don't want anyone fighting between now and December because of the potential of someone being beaten or someone gets a cut eye or is injured or whatever. But in the case of Joshua, is it realistic? Is it a realistic proposition for him to take on Deontay Wilder when he's coming off back-to-back defeats from Usyk and that, you know, lukewarm fight with Jermaine Franklin? And as you know, if you watched my previous videos, I don't think that fight was, it wasn't a good performance, but I think it served its purpose in that it highlighted what Joshua needs to work on with his new trainer, Derek James. I think it was a very useful measuring stick, a litmus test, so that Joshua and James could say, okay, we need to work on this, this and this. Having said that, to not fight anyone between now and December, surely for Joshua would be a negative. And you have to ask, it doesn't really instill a lot, it doesn't suggest that there's a lot of confidence for Joshua. But if he's going to take on someone else, I mean, Dillian White, for example, who he's knocked out before and whose punch resistance looks greatly diminished. What's wrong with fighting him in July? Are they really lacking in confidence that they don't want to put Joshua in with anyone, even a man he's knocked out before years ago? A man who himself has been knocked out twice in his last 4 fights. In the case of Fury, I mean, of course, Joshua doesn't have to accept anything he doesn't want to. He could say, well, no, actually, I insist on having a fight. Or maybe Derek James says, no, if you're going to go in with Wilder in December, you need to fight between now and then. We need to test the waters, get you under the lights, work, putting into practice a few of the things that we've discussed, that we've done. But I find the whole thing a little bit, but at the moment it's in its preliminary stages anyway. We don't know if it's going to come off. Hearn also said that the two people he mentioned two people that Joshua could fight, one being Wilder and the other being Fury in December. And he didn't really elaborate on that because he then said, well, Fury will probably fight Usyk. Well, he can't fight Joshua and Usyk on the same night. But it's interesting because it does imply that maybe if Usyk and Fury can't be made, then Fury could he go in with Joshua? Again, if Joshua hasn't fought since the Franklin fight and he takes on Fury in December, I mean, at least he's had that fight. That Fury hasn't fought since last December, so he'll have been out for a whole year. But you would think that Fury would come in the red-hot favourite against Joshua. I've always thought that Fury would probably outbox Joshua and beat him, even when they were both undefeated. But in December, if he takes on, if it's Fury-Joshua, I definitely think Fury... I actually think the appeal of the fight would be damaged if Joshua didn't fight between now and then and Fury didn't fight between now and then. I think it is far more likely that we will see Wilder, who himself has been quite inactive. I mean, he had that knockover job, that one-rounder against Helenius. But prior to that, he was bounced around by Fury a couple of times. I think Wilder and Joshua in December and Fury and Usyk is a far more sellable commodity. And Hearn, interesting, he said in the interview, he said, look, Fury doesn't want to fight Usyk. There's no doubt about it. He just don't want to fight him. But everyone has a price, hence the £400 million price tag. I mean, you put enough money on the table and someone eventually will go, yeah, all right, okay. It is, after all, boxing, prize fighting, as much as building a legacy. Not that Fury, Joshua, even Usyk and Wilder, they certainly don't need the money, but if you put 9 figures on the table, it's hard to say no, isn't it? So all this is in its early stages, in its sort of fetal stage, but you never know, could happen. And Hearn seemed, you know, when you watch someone's interview, you sort of look them in the eyes as they're talking, and you're thinking, this guy, he knows something. Maybe he's not revealing it all. And with Hearn, of course, well, with any promoter, you never really know what they're hiding. But what do you think about this? As usual, comments below. Want to hear what you've got to say. Interesting proposition. That'll be a hell, you know. And then, of course, I assume that, let's say you had Joshua, Wilder, the winner of that would face the winner of Usyk and Fury. For what, 200 million each? I don't bloody know. It's the world's gone mad as far as finances go. And those Saudis, they've got a few quid. Yeah. How do they make their money? You ever looked at your energy bill lately? Have a look. You'll find out. Anyway, comments below. Thanks for your time as always. Like the video if you liked it. Hit the subscribe button and I'll see you again soon sometime. Bye for now.